Thanks everybody for joining today's session. My name is Jeremiah Splan. I work with the Department of Technology and Enhanced Learning here at MTU. Excuse me. And today we're going to just quickly look at some new and advanced marking and feedback tools in Canvas. I know this is a very busy period for everybody, so we're going to really try to keep this short and to the point. So I'll aim to have you out of here by 2:30. So yeah, in this session, we're just going to look at some marking and feedback tools. The intention is that the tools covered today help you to provide more feedback, hopefully in a more engaging way, and hopefully in a way that will save you more time. Excuse me. So all the tools that we're talking about today are within Canvas, and they're going to be specifically within the Speedgrader system. So yeah, I'm just going to touch on these four things specifically. So the speech to text tool in Speedgrader, the screencast recording tool, the Speedgrader comment library, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about using the rubrics feature, which I think is a really effective way to set up your assignments and to give feedback to your students. So you should be seeing my Canvas dashboard now. If you have any questions as we go, do drop them in the chat or in the Q&A, and I'll try and address them at the end. So here I am on my Canvas dashboard. I've got a test course here that I'm going to use. So I'm going to jump down to this Canvas refresher course. And here in the course navigation over on the left, I can see my assignments. So because we're talking about the Speedgrader system and assignments in general, that's where we're going to be working today. So I want to scroll down here, and I've set up a test assignment here just for this demo today. I'm going to go to assignment 3 here. When I jump into it, we can see the assignment that we've set up. And just even before we get into the tools, I think, I mean, this is just a demo example, but I think this is a good way to set up your assignments to, help your students achieve some success, giving them a clear overview, what the task is, this one, for example, involves description and evaluation, what learning outcomes in terms of your course this assignment is speaking to, clear instructions about the word count and, if they can go over and under, and, any formatting kind of conventions that you want them to adhere to. So this is my test assignment, and underneath it here, you can see that I've assigned a rubric, and I'm going to come back to this in a minute. So first, I'm going to talk about the speech to text tool. So I'm going to jump into the Speedgrader. So up here in the top right-hand corner, there is the Speedgrader function. This is typically where you'll be doing your grading. So when I jump into the Speedgrader, you should be fairly familiar with this. Perhaps it's new to some of you. But within here, you have your document that the student will have submitted. Can be other types of submission, but I guess the most common one will be a document or an essay of some sort, a report. And here, you can use the various tools along the toolbar on the top here. So you can, jump from page to page of the assignment. You can zoom in and so on. You can use the bubble tool to add a note. You can highlight specific pieces of text and add a comment to that highlight. So you can also strike through things that might be problematic and so on. So that's kind of the basic functionality that you have here in terms of the document. In terms of feedback then, over here on the right-hand side, if this is a bit small, I can grab the 3 dots here in the middle and pull them over. Typically people will respond to their students here in the text box, but actually a quicker, more efficient way to do this, especially if you've got a very large cohort of students, is to use the text-to-speech tool. So down here in the bottom right, next to submit comment, there's a little speaker icon. And if I click on that, I get a pop-up box, which you should see, and it says click the record button to begin. So here I can just speak in my my feedback. So if I click record, okay, so I'm now inputting speech to text for my assignment. I'll tell my student that this has been a really good piece of work. Some of the examples you've used are very strong, full stop. Just be careful with your referencing, full stop. So you can see that this is a really good way to input text into your comments box here. So, and of course, once I've inputted it, I can edit it. So because I spoke at the very beginning, I want to just remove that first sentence. The other thing that this doesn't do is input full stops, commas, and so on. So one workaround that we would kind of typically use is to just say the term full stop or comma. You can see that I've said that twice in this. So what you can do as a quick workaround is use a find and replace tool. Your browser may have one. If it doesn't, you can add one with an extension. So that's what I've done here. I've added a Chrome extension, which is find and replace. So if I click the find and replace, I can type full stop to find it and then put in my period mark to replace it and then hit return. That should work for me. So click replace all, and there you can see it's added my full stops. So, that's just a quick workaround to deal with that. And then, of course, it's important to just read back through it and just edit what you've inputted. So that's just an example of the speech to text tool, the text recognition function within Canvas. Just to signpost that the error that I had there a moment ago that it wasn't recording is because my Bluetooth headphones had been connected to my computer earlier and they're no longer in the room. So that's just a little thing to be mindful of. So once you're happy with that piece of feedback, you can submit the comment and there is your feedback to your student. I think the speech to text is quite useful because you can give a lot more detail more quickly than you would if you were just typing, and it's easier to go back and just really quickly edit and tidy up that text. The second option here, which is equally good, is the video option. So there are two options here. You could record your media or you can upload the media. I'm going to record the media, but I'm also going to record the screen rather than the camera. So here you're seeing a kind of an infinite kind of loop here because it's picking up the screen that I'm recording on. One option, if that's something that kind of annoys you just when it pops up, you could open a separate tab and copy and paste the URL. And actually, I'll just show you that there really quickly. So if I wanted to duplicate this, I could open a second tab, which will open my Speedgrader. I'm going to go back in here, click my record function, change this to screen capture, enable, choose the source. You can see here that it's showing the screen that I wanted to. And then once I'm happy, I can start recording. So the benefit of this really is that you can, it's kind of like sitting down with your student, and you've got a printed PDF copy of their document. It allows you to go through the document in detail and kind of point out specific things. So here I'm just going to start recording. It gives you a little countdown. And then I'm going to move my window a bit smaller over here, zoom in a little bit. And then you can just start talking through the document with them. So I'm going to say, this is a really good intro. I like what you've said here. The examples that you've used are good. I think that's really good. The point that you've made here, I think, should probably be left out. It's beyond the scope of the assignment, et cetera, et cetera. So, and it allows you to kind of talk through the document and point to certain things, and you could be annotating it as you go, So I think that's kind of a nice way to give richer and more detailed feedback to your students. So with that done, I'm now going to finish recording. So up here on the top right-hand side, there's a finish recording button. And then I've got the option to give it a file name. So or if you weren't happy with it, you could just use the start over button here, but I'm happy with that. I'm going to save that media. And that will pop up here. It takes a moment or two to process it. So that'll start processing in the background. And once it's ready, the thumbnail will change and you'll see the screen that we started recording. So that's the screen capture function. I think it's really good, as I said, in the kind of show and tell sense. It's like sitting down with your student with the document in hand and kind of going it through with them. I think this is also particularly good for media-based assignments. So if they've created some media-based content for you, that's quite useful as well. Okay, so that is the screen to text feature and the screen capture feature. The third thing I wanted to talk to you about was a comment library. So here in this WYSIWYG editor where you type your text, your rich content editor, up on just to the right-hand side of it here, you can see there's a little speech bubble, and it's got the number 8 here. And so basically that's your comment library. So if I click here, scroll out a little bit, you can see that I've got a number of comments that I've added here. So you can just simply add these at the bottom. So if I want to make a new comment, say, really good conclusion, I can add that to my library. So you can see that this is quite useful in terms of those repeated comments that you'll always give to students, like missing citation or whatever it might be. So when you want to add one of these, if you're in the rich content editor here, you simply click on the speech bubble, you choose one here, like what you're referencing. The only problem with this is that it doesn't allow you to add multiples, which I think it should. So if I space down a few lines and I add another one, it replaces it. So that's not ideal. But all you need to do basically is submit each comment as you use them. And this might be something that you would tell your students in terms of, when they're asking you about assignments during term, during semester. Say when I leave you feedback, there'll probably be a number of different comments. Some of it might be video content and so on. And you can say, just read down through all of the different comments. And so with that said, they know that you're going to add a few different pieces of feedback. This one here is really good conclusion. So I'm going to add that one. I'm also going to add that comment about the referencing, and one more from down here. And you can see that these comments are kind of being dropped in bit by bit as you go down. So I think it would be nicer if it was all in one contained piece that you could edit, but it doesn't seem to function that way at the moment. They may change that in the future, but it still works quite well. So there are 3 tools within the Speedgrader that I think are very good for feedback: that speech to text, screen capture, and then those that comment library. So it's quite helpful. So I'm going to jump back out of here to my course, and I am going to talk about rubrics. So for those of you who may not be familiar with rubric is basically kind of a document that tells you how an assignment is being graded or how it should be graded. It's usually in a table format, and it gives you a list of criterion by which you're examining the piece of content, and then different levels of competency against each criterion. So down here in the very bottom, so under your assignment, when you create your assignment, there's an option here to add a rubric. So I've added one here, or you can create a new rubric. I'm not going to get into creating rubrics today because that's kind of a different topic. I just want to show you how to use them in the Speedgrader, really. So, for example, I've got this XR rubric set up for this, and I'm going to click Preview Rubric. And then I'll get a pop-up window which shows me the layout of the rubric. So here you can see on the very, very left column, you've got the different criteria. So there's 4 criteria here: structure and clarity, understanding, critical analysis, referencing, and academic style. And then across here, we have the different value ratings: excellent, good, fair, or poor. So that's how this rubric is set up. I can edit the rubric if I want to. So by simply clicking, sorry, I'll go back a step there. I moved a little bit fast. So I can click on the edit rubric pen button here, and that will open this up for me. And you see I've got each of my 4 different criteria. If I wanted to add a new criterion, I can do that from here. So simply draft a new criterion and say this is about I don't know, comparison. Comparison with key texts, save the criterion, and you can see I've got a new criterion here on the bottom. On the right-hand side of this criterion, I can pick the edit criterion option, and start editing and giving those descriptions more information. So actually making a criterion from scratch might take a little bit more time. So I'm going to delete that one. The other option you have is to duplicate one. So if it's going to be similar to one of these, let's say it's similar to structure and clarity, if I go to the right-hand side, I can duplicate this criterion. And you can see I've got information in here already, and it's quicker to edit this than it is to write one from scratch. So I'm actually just going to save the, I'm going to delete this new one that I've just made. We don't actually need it. And I think, let me see, check that this is all good. Save the rubric. Okay. So once you've got your rubric set up, and again, that's kind of a session for another day, but once you've got them set up, you can open different ones here for your assignment. When you create a new assignment, you've got a choice to make one. Maybe I'll just signpost you here actually very quickly to the very left in your course column. So your course navigation column, there's a section here for rubrics. So if you did want to make one, if you haven't made one before, you can jump in here and you can create a new rubric using the blue button here in the top right-hand corner. If by chance you don't see rubrics here in your course navigation, you can go down to settings. If I open my settings, that opens up the course settings. If you go along the top here, there are a couple of different tabs. The third one is navigation. And that's basically that navigation tab corresponds with this course navigation here on the left. So if you don't see rubrics, you can always just drag them up from here, just remembering to save beforehand. So, and then from there, if you're making a new assignment, you can draw in your rubrics from that rubric section. Okay, so just going to jump back over here. I'm going to go back into my test assignment. We've chosen our rubric for this assignment, and now I'm going to jump into my Speedgrader. And I'm going to go to, let's say my test student here. Okay, and now because we've got this rubric set up, you can see that it's laid out here on the right-hand side. And what's useful about this is using the descriptions, you can give students very consistent feedback based on their expectation from the rubric when they submitted their assignment. So I think that's really good in terms of aligning, your feedback with their expectations. So let's say in this essay, I thought the structure and clarity was excellent. I thought the understanding was good. I thought the critical analysis was good. The referencing was fair, could have been a little bit better. And you can see that this is automatically populating the points based on the criterion score over here. This can be set up within a range, which this actually is at the moment, or it can be set up as a fixed number and a fixed point. If it's set up as a fixed point, it will just put in that number for you. But here, because it's in a range, I can change it to, let's say, 12, and that should bring it down to fair. Should do. So 20, let's go 15. So it'll allow me to input the number that I want to. And that's because it's set to a range. So if I'm happy with that, I can then submit that assessment. And the feedback is saved for the student. So I'll just give you an idea of that, what that looks like then for the student. If I jump back out, and as I'm an admin, I can view as student. So I'm going to view as student here, just to give you a sense of what that looks like. And so this would appear in their grade section. So, oh yeah, sorry, I should say as well, when the student views the assignment, they see the full rubric laid out for them. So again, that's I think really, really helpful in terms of them knowing what they're working towards. So when you've graded it, if the student jumps into grades, and I go to assignment number 3, I haven't published it yet, actually. Let me just jump back there for 1 second. And I'm going to publish those grades. So I'm just going to jump into my assignment number 3, Speedgrader. And you can see over here in the top left that these grades haven't been published. So I want to publish them because I want to see what it looks like for the student. So I'm going to post grades. I'm going to post them to everybody. And now when I jump back to the student in the student preview, they should be able to see their grades. So I'm going to go view as student. I'm going to go to grades. And now that they can see that there are grades waiting for them for assignment 3, I can click on here. And you can see that they get their feedback and their grades based on the rubric ratings. So the comments are based on those. So in addition to that, if I jump back to, if I leave student view, go back to the assignments. So actually it's one or two things I should say here. So yeah, so if I jump into the rubric here on my assignment, you can see there are a couple of options here just under, so yeah, you've got the rubric name, you've got the scale or written feedback. So you can turn off the scale and just give them written feedback, or you can use level or points. Rating order can be high to low or low to high, and it can be scored or unscored. In terms of these tick box options underneath, one option is to use the rubric for assignment grading. So again, that's something that might speed up your workflow. You can basically set it up so that whatever you score it in the rubric when you're doing the assignment, when you're doing the grading, immediately gets pushed to the grade book. So it'll do the calculation for you and that'll push it straight through. I kind of like to leave that off actually, so that you've got the final decision where you put in the grade manually at the end in case you want to adjust something in a kind of granular sense. The other thing is that if you go into each of these different criteria and you edit the criteria, I've got a range on there, and that's what allowed me a while ago to put in 15 rather than 20. If this range was turned off on all of these criterion, when you click in the excellent range, it'll just give you a mark of 20. It won't allow you to put in 19, 18, 17, or 16 all the way down to the next mark. So I think enabling range is an important thing to do. It just gives you that little bit more granular control when you're putting in the marks at the end. And the other thing I think that's important is just to ensure that the points that you allocate for your rubric add up to 100. This is obviously because the marking system that we use in the university is marking out of 100%. And it just avoids any confusion. Like so you could set this up to give it a certain amount of points for a particular assignment. But yeah, just good practice to make everything add up to 100 so that when it gets ported across to the final student marking system, that everything lines up correctly. So that's just a point to note there. And we can see here that the 4 criteria on here add up to 100. So that's that. Let me just jump back over to the Speedgrader to see is there anything else I wanted to add about that. So yeah, as I mentioned, because it's got a range set up to it, I can give it 17, give it 15, 12. Additionally, so the student gets the feedback from the different ratings here, but if you wanted to add something additional, you could say you can add the comment box here, tick the comment box here on the bottom right, and that allows you to add some extra comments. So you could say big improvement referencing. So you can add a little comment for each of these if you so wish, which just allows you to kind of adapt the feedback. So in terms of time saving, just using the ratings comments that you've set up here is a really good way to give consistent feedback. If there's anything additional that you want to add, you can use the comment box to do that. And then when you're happy, you can submit the assessment. And then you can give the final score yourself based on your kind of granular assessment of that. So I think this is a 68, let's say. And then that's it. That's basically the assessment process with the rubric. So trying to keep faithful to my promise to let you out of here by past. I will stop that, and I'm just going to share one really quick final thing with you, which is going back to my slides. So yeah, so we've talked about Speedgrader, speech to text, screencast recording in the comment library, and we've talked about the rubrics feature. One other time saver, which may be useful to you, is the Canvas Teacher app. You can, of course, do your grading from the Canvas Teacher app. If I just play this little screen capture, you can see I can jump into that same course. I can go to the assignments, gives me a list of all my assignments, and it tells me which one needs grading. So here you can see there are 2 items that need grading. I can select one of these. And again, I can look through my essay there on the top, and I can also scroll down and see the different rubric ranges that I've set up here. It's a detail section with nothing in that. So yeah, you can see that I can scroll down here, add comments, add points, select the range that I want for my rubric, and so on. So again, that's another option if you want to do some grading. I think this is particularly useful if you're using a rubric with discussions, which you can do. So if you've got a kind of maybe a formative discussion task that you set up for your students, doing the grading within the Canvas app can be quite useful for that as well. So that's that. The other final thing are just some supports. So using the help button on the bottom of the global navigation, that black navigation bar in Canvas, there's an option to use a 24/7 chat support with Canvas. So that's very, very useful. That should be your first port of call. And then additionally, if you want any support from us, you can contact us via edtech@mtu.ie. And I think I'll leave it there just to make sure that you're all out of here and you've got time for a coffee or something to eat before your next class. So thanks for your attention.